Good evening. I'd like to call the March 14th regular Village Board of Trustees meeting to order. May we have a roll call, please?
Donnisberger,
Here.
Trustee Eck,
Here.
Trustee Gazis,
Here.
Trustee O'Laughlin,
Here.
Trustee Saldana,
Here.
Trustees Feska,
Here.
President Wittenberg.
Here. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance. Thank you. I have a short report this evening. I would like to thank the Indian Head Park Police Department, Officer Verber, and the Chief Walsh for the wonderful presentation that they did last evening with the IHP Slam the Scam. And if you hadn't seen the information on that great workshop and presentation, just so you're all aware, in 2023 and 2024, we have had an increase in scams, cons, and frauds in Indian Head Park and surrounding communities. Officer Verber did a very detailed presentation on these last evening here at Village Hall, and I'd like to thank he and Chief Walsh for their efforts in educating our residents regarding these scams. Residents should not be afraid to call our police department if you need anything or believe you are being scammed or defrauded. Dial 911. We have had several residents lose thousands of dollars in these scams, and in the most recent, it was $34,000 plus. Please see the following links on the Village of Indian Head Park website or the IHP YouTube channel. The video that was made last evening will be replaying on Comcast Channel 6 for those of you that have Comcast. Thank you so much to Rob and the Chief. I'm now going to move on to the March 24 update for the Wolf Road Corridor Mapping Alternatives and Feedback. The Wolf Road study team received approximately 150 plus corridor maps that were provided to the village on February 9th. That was the due date for them. Either we received them here at Village Hall or they went directly to the Indian Head Park, the Wolf Road study team email address. The Wolf Road study team is currently compiling the map survey data to be shared with the public for each corridor section no later than April 11th, 2024. We are organizing all letters, emails, voicemails, correspondence that were received for this current submission on 2/9 for review by the public no later than April 11th, 2024. This feedback is being reviewed and evaluated along with information collected from the public survey in fall 2023. You may all remember that there were approximately 300 people that responded to surveys and mapping exercises, and the data is also online. The study team anticipates having more information to share regarding the preliminary corridor alternatives at the CACT, the CAC Corridor Advisory Council number 2 meeting and public meeting number 2. The CACT meeting number 2 is scheduled tentatively for July 2024, and public meeting number 2 is scheduled for August 2024. For those of you that can't find the public feedback or maybe haven't been able to get to the site yet, it's at wolfroadstudy.com. Public feedback is the menu, and at that menu is where we have over 280 people that provided public feedback to share with our community regarding their preferences for Wolf Road. It includes the raw data files for the data and also public comment matrices for voicemails, emails, letters, the public survey results matrix, and the online mapping survey results. People have been asking about the corridor alternative maps that were provided on or due February 9th. All feedback we received from the corridor mapping alternatives exercise and correspondence will be provided to the public no later than April 11th, basically the next board meeting. We have had a little less traffic this month after the maps were submitted. So this is the website analytics and statistics. We still are getting several hundred hits, even though things have died down a bit. And this is where you can also sign up for a newsletter that will be forthcoming during this process. That is it. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion, please, for the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Any questions or discussion on consent agenda items? If there are none, could we please have a financial report from the treasurer?
For the month ending February 2024, the summary is for the month ending February 2024. Our cash on hand at the end of January was $2,530,000. Payables was $581,000. Our total revenue for the month was $715,000, leaving us with a cash balance of $2,664,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Helia.
Question.
Yes.
On one of the schedules, it shows that we had a CD, or excuse me, a treasury purchase maturing as of February 29th. I believe that that's been renewed and extended. What's the new maturity date and what's the yield on that?
I sent you an email regarding that. I did take $118,000 of that money that matured, and I invested $400,000, and I believe the percent was over. It was over 5%, like 5.18%. Will mature in June of this year. I did not want to extend it past that date.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing no other questions, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Donnersberger,
Aye.
Trustee Eck,
Aye.
Trustee Gazis,
Aye.
Trustee O'Laughlin,
Aye.
Trustee Saldana,
Aye.
Trustee Sveska.
Aye.
It passes.
Thank you. Now moving along to new business, can we please have a motion for item A?
I make a motion for approval of the regular meeting minutes of February 8th. Oh, wait a minute, sorry. I make a motion for approval of proclamation Arbor Day 2024.
I'll second it.
Do I need to read something? Do I need to read it? Here's the proclamation. I think I already read this once. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Therefore, I, Amy Jo Wittenberg, President of the Village of Indian Head Park, do hereby proclaim April 26, 2024 as Arbor Day in the Village of Indian Head Park, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Thank you. Do we need a roll call vote for a proclamation?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Voice vote is fine, but roll call, sure.
Why do we do a roll call?
Trustee Donnersberger,
Aye.
Trustee Eck,
Aye.
Trustee Gazis.
Aye.
Trustee O'Laughlin.
Aye.
Trustee
Great, moving on to item B, can we get a motion for Resolution 2024-02?
I'll make a motion to pass Resolution 2024-02, the intergovernmental agreement with Cook County Sheriff Emergency Telephone Systems Board.
Second.
Gavin, are you going to take this one?
Yes, this agreement we have been in for, this is our 5th year, and we're happy with their service. We went to the site and visited the emergency communication center, and we've got a good relationship with them. They are providing us with the data that we need to analyze the issues that we're having in the community, understanding when our calls volume is up, and how to plan for that. So they're a very good partner for us. So our recommendation is that we continue this relationship and sign another 5-year agreement. The cost for this is within the agreement under Section D, and excuse me, it's a 3% increase over our previous year for the first year, and it goes up each year. But we find value in this investment, and it is looking at the history of our emergency communications. We were previously with a consortium, and our rate for the Cook County system is much lower. So I think it continues to be the case, and I see this is a benefit for the community. And if there's anything else you wanted to add to that, Chief?
The Cook County system is probably the best in the country, and that the telecommunicators are top-notch. And obviously, like I think the village administrator said, it would cost us a lot more to go elsewhere. So I concur with his recommendation.
Any other questions or feedback regarding the dispatch agreement for our 911 center?
I have a question. You said that we do get information data from them. Is that made public?
What we did at this last meeting, the chief and myself, Brenda, Gavin, we went there to share information because the chief was new to his position. So right now, one of the goals that we have on our 2024 goals is data.
Mm-hmm.
So we will be figuring out with the police committee. One of their goals will be to formulate what data we want to take from those reports, from their computer-aided dispatch system, to reuse for reports for the public and for the police committee.
Yeah, I understand there will be some information that is sensitive and, not to be shared, and that's why I was asking if they generate reports that can be sanitized for public view.
Yes.
Okay.
They have a very top-notch computer-aided dispatch that has the ability to run queries and reports. And actually, Eve, the assistant to the police chief, can run those reports here as well. Right. And she can slice and dice the data as she learns to use some of their tool sets.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions on the ETSB renewal? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote?
Trustee Donnisberger.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Gazis.
Aye.
Trustee O'Laughlin.
Aye.
Trustee Saldana.
Aye.
Trustee Sveska.
Aye.
Resolution passes.
Thank you. Moving on to item C, Resolution 2024-03.
I'd like to introduce Resolution 2024-03, Amendment Number 4 to the October 8th, 2015 General On-Call Municipal Engineering Services Contract.
I'll second that. I would also now ask, even though it's expired from 2023, there are a number of provisions in there that we haven't really had a chance to review. I'd ask that we defer this for 1 month and have it in the April meeting for a vote. so I don't know how we properly ask for that, but I will so move.
That'd be a substitute motion.
So I'd move to defer this till the April meeting. Need a second?
I'll second it.
Can we have a roll call vote?
Yeah.
Trustee Donnesberger,
Aye.
Trustee Eck,
Aye.
Trustee O'Laughlin,
Aye.
It's a ghost.
Is that a ghost?
On the motion.
Yes, yes.
Trustee Saldana,
Aye.
Trustee Sveska,
Aye.
it passes.
You missed.
Aye.
What?
Thank you. Aye.
All righty. Thank you. Let's move on to new business item D, discussion. License agreement with American Tower.
I make a motion to put on the table for discussion the license agreement with American Tower.
Okay, I brought this to you.
I'll second it.
Oh, I'm sorry. What I am asking from the board is that you authorize me to negotiate with companies for lease agreements or licensing agreements. It's not technically a lease, but licensing agreement with companies to utilize. The current agreement expires in December 31st of this year, and up until I sent the agenda out, we had only heard from the company that is currently in an agreement with us for that space. However, since then, earlier this week, Joe got a call from a separate company who's also interested in buying out the lease at that property. So it would be in order for you to authorize me to do those negotiations, and then we would bring it back, of course, any agreement that we settle on to the board for consideration.
So, so we would have to do a motion to approve giving you permission? I mean, I just,
Yeah, it would really just be concurrence. You
Okay,
put the
concur.
item on the table, and then there would be concurrence for Gavin to engage in those negotiations. And as he indicated, then he would bring back the options to the board, and eventually that would then be the formal action that's taken as it relates to whatever company, wants to make the best offer. So I think the village is in a good position, given the offers that are out there with our leverage.
so I now make a motion to approve, giving permission to our administrator to enter into negotiations for licensing agreement with American Tower.
I'll second that.
And we need a roll call vote?
Yes, please. And just for the record, it's not just with American Tower, it's with the other users as well.
Okay, to enter into negotiations with whomever might be interested in licensing agreements.
Very well.
For the tower.
Aye.
Trustee Donnesberger,
Aye.
Trustee Eck,
Aye.
Trustee Gazis,
Aye.
Trustee O'Laughlin,
Aye.
Trustee Saldana,
Aye.
Trustee Sveska,
Aye.
it passes.
Alrighty, moving on to item E, first reading of the 2024-25 budget.
No, it's just for a read, right?
Okay. I provided you with a hard copy of the most up-to-date version of the at this point, draft preliminary budget. And I just wanted to go through some of the highlights with you and with everyone here. After tonight, after this first reading, we'll post the budget with any changes that come up tonight on the website, and it'll be available for the public to view and to provide comment on. and we'll send it out as a news flash to make sure that everyone's aware that it's there. We'll also have copies here at the front desk, and if people request it, we can email it to them. When it gets closer to the April board meeting, we will post notice of the public hearing in the newspaper and on our website. And that public hearing will take place at the beginning of the board meeting on April 11th. And then you will consider it for approval later on that agenda. So I want to focus, if you'll go to page 1, on the first column is the FY23 audited numbers. So these are solid numbers. These are the numbers that the auditor went through and said, these are the actual revenues, actual expenses you had in FY23, which is the year that ended in April 30th of 2023. So as we go through you'll see the general fund. Just to explain some of the numbers here, if you'll start with the fund balance on 5/1, that is the fund balance for each of the years that we started that year with. During the year, you have revenues, you have operating expenses, you have capital outlay. That brings you to the number at the top of that first line of revenues over or under expenditures. In the case of FY23, our revenue was over expenditures by $421,000. Then you add that number to the beginning fund balance, and you get the ending fund balance on 4/30 of that fiscal year. So FY23, that fiscal year ended on 4/30 of 2023. We had $1,805,000 in our fund balance for the general fund. And then you can see the next line next column, is the amount that we had budgeted for FY24. And then as we get near the end of this fiscal year, we're able to estimate where we think we'll end up at the end of 2024 on April 30th. And that's an estimate of the position we'll be in, which takes the ending balance from FY23, adds, in this case, takes away $53,000 that we estimate revenues to be under expenditures. And you get that ending fund balance of $1.7 million. Which is above the recently adopted fund balance policy of 3 months, which would equal about $766,000. And that's 3 months of our operating expenses, which you see up above there is $3 million. And then the final column is where we see the budget that is everything behind this page. And when you add it all up, that's the revenue that we expect to get, the expenses we expect to have, and the capital outlay, which includes in the general fund, that's all of the capital projects that are not included in the water and sewer fund. So it's the same treatment for the general fund, and I've included the road-related or motor fuel tax funds, and then water, sewer. Those are our major funds. We also have some non-major funds, which are, the pass-throughs for the Special Recreation District, as well as our debt service fund, which is property taxes are levied specifically to pay off the existing debt, and that money goes straight to those payments for principal and interest. So that's really, they're not operating funds, so to speak, for the village, and that's why they're not included in these major funds. So at the beginning and end of the year, and then what activities we have during the year. So I just want to hit some of the highlights on, and we'll jump forward to page 8, which is our water sewer fund revenue. You'll see here in this line down at the bottom of the column for 2024-2025 proposed, a large amount of $947,775. That is the federal appropriations, which were approved last week and signed by the president. And that is a project that we had put in for a long time before I got here. And we have finally gotten word that we're going to be getting that almost $1 million, and that is specifically for 2 projects: the water main lining on Joliet Road and a water main lining project on Roofers Road, and that should help with leaks that we've had in the past in those 2 areas. And the projects, because of the time lapse between when we put in for those and when the appropriations bills were approved, the price will probably go up a little bit. So we have budgeted, you'll see later in the budget, we have budgeted about $990,000 for those 2 projects. But I wanted to point that out to you. And then right under that is the proceeds from the debt certificates that we're going to be letting in later, and hopefully in May or June we will be bringing an ordinance to the board for that. And we've had a lot of discussion around financing the pump house project, and that's what that represents, revenue from those debt certificates. So those are the 2 revenue items. They're bigger than we usually see in our budget, so I wanted to touch on those. Then skipping to page 13, we've broken out one of the priorities that we have talked about. Well, a few of the priorities we've talked about. We've talked about updating the zoning code. We've talked about more intentional economic development efforts. We've talked about looking at improving our process for building permits. And one thing I did that differently from how we've done in previous years is break out the community and economic development budget from within administration, where it was kind of lost, and making it a priority within our budget to focus on those efforts. So we've broken out the community economic development budget, so that'll include planning, zoning, and building permits, code enforcement, and economic development efforts, which at this point are unspecified, but we will have some money set aside for those. The Economic Development Committee is working on some ideas, and wanted to provide some funding for those in here. So we do have a line for economic development somewhere. I may have to move it to this page because I don't see it, but it is in there. So it will be. The next page I wanted to touch on is 19. Which is our road and motor fuel tax fund. I just wanted to show generally what these are items that our motor fuel tax, we're limited in what we can spend those funds on. And we have budgeted for eligible expenses always, but this year I'm adding an amount that we haven't really seen before because we do have the funds. If you go back to the first page, page 1, you do see that there's a significant amount available in the road and in the motor fuel tax fund. And one of the eligible expenses is roads and or road construction, and so I've added a line in there for $350,000. Our annual road program is $500,000, and so there's still $150,000 in the general fund capital outlay for the road program, but this is the other part of the $500,000 is now in the motor fuel tax fund.
Given that total expenditures on that, on this particular spreadsheet looks a little off. We might have to just, I think we got a couple cells that got copied down
Okay.
on the last line on page 19, just for the edited version.
Yes, you're correct. It doubles up the total operating costs of $234. Thank you. So it really should be $584,500. Thank you. You passed the test. Then page 20, and we'll double check all the numbers before we put it on the website. I say double check, it'll be quadruple by that time. Page 20 is I wanted to show you down at the Wolf Road Phase 1 on the bottom section of the page. You'll see $516,000 in the 24-25 budget. That's money that we expect to be reimbursed from the county for the Phase 1 of the Wolf Road redesign project, which as Amy Jo talked about at the beginning of the meeting, we've been working hard on, and we're happy that the county was willing to restart that and fund that project and involve the village and others in the work of the Community Advisory Committee or Corridor Advisory Committee and the Public Involvement Plan.
Look at one above that. That's your economic development line item.
For the Heritage Center?
Oh, no. Is that for the Heritage?
Which is another thing I wanted to,
This thing right
there it is.
here.
The second one from the bottom.
On 20.
The second one from the bottom. Somehow that jumped over to this page. Thank you. Back to the Heritage Center was the other thing I wanted to talk about on this page. We had a study done in 22-23 that looked at the costs for doing work at all three of our buildings, the Public Works Garage, this building, and both the administration side and the police side, and the Heritage Center. And I'm not trying to make a recommendation tonight on what to do with the Heritage Center, but the options come down to the cost estimates, and these were very rough estimates, would be $30,000 to tear it down and about $300,000 to bring it up to code and to continue being able to use it in a safe way. So it's going to cost one or the other. I put the $30,000. I had put more in there, but the Finance Committee asked me to reduce that amount. So there is an amount set aside for those costs, but that comes to another. Well, I brought up the planning and zoning, the rewrite of the zoning code, and that's going to be also include looking at the comprehensive plan, which was last updated in 2015. And part of the discussion around with the Planning and Zoning Commission is how when we do look at the comprehensive plan, it's going to impact more than just zoning and land use planning. It's going to have an impact even on our forestry plan and how we, because really when you're doing a comprehensive plan, one of the things you're looking at is what are the values of the community and what is it that the community wants to see, what is the vision for the community. And as you start to answer that question, you get answers to questions like what should we do about the trees, what should we do about fences, and some of these issues have been controversial and have been brought up for years and years in the community, but no decision has been made. So one thing I hope will come out of this comprehensive planning effort is decisions on those issues, one way or the other, and those will be based on input from the community. They will be based on direction from the board, which brings me back to the Heritage Center, because that's one of those issues. The referendum, it's been the subject of the facility study, yet we haven't really made a decision about what we're going to do about it. So part of the intent there with having something in the budget for the Heritage Center is to finally make that decision. So there hadn't been an amount in that in a line item for the Heritage Center specifically, so that's been added to that. Page 21. Just want to point out another conversation has taken place at the Public Works Committee is around crack sealing and to the needs around the entire community every 3 years. Not doing it once every 3 years, but each year for a 3-year cycle, and having a planned approach to it rather than each year deciding where the emergencies are and fixing those, but having a plan for that. So if we do that program, the thinking is that it will cost less on an annual basis, which is the last page. We've got some big items. I mentioned already the Joliet and Roofers Road water main projects. That's shown there is $990,000, and I explained that it's higher than what we're getting from the federal government. Not too much higher, but enough that we need to consider that in the budget. And then, so that's at the bottom of that top section, $990,000. Most of which will be covered by the federal money. And then a few lines above that is the pump station for $900,000. That's what we expect to finish. The project will be another $900,000, and again, that is what we are seeking proceeds from debt certificates for, and the reason that the debt certificates are higher than that amount is we will be able to reimburse ourselves for some of our previous costs once we have the debt certificates. So we'll be able to go back to the earlier expenses that have already been paid and reimburse ourselves for those. So those are the highlights of the budget. If there are any questions, I'll take those. So again, we have you have a month to look at these. About on April 11th will be the next meeting, but we will, and again, we'll start that with a public hearing about the budget, and we'll put it out there. We'll make sure everybody knows that it is available for review and comment, and we'll take those comments and feedback, and we will see if there is a need for adjustment, and I'll do a fuller presentation about how our expenditures tie into our goals and the board's vision, and have more charts and fancy stuff. So at the April meeting.
I do have a question. Do you have a specific goal for date of publication of the proposed budget? Once you fix the little problems?
Well, as soon as I fix all those problems, I think
Oh.
we're good to
Do
go
we
ahead
have
and put
a
it out.
requirement, like 30 days before passage or something like that?
So the requirement was that we have the first reading tonight, and
Okay.
we've met that requirement. And then the next requirement is that 10 days, at least
10
10
days.
days before the hearing, we publish it we publish notice of the hearing.
Yeah.
So, yes, we're covered.
And the hearing that has a requirement too, for how many days before passage? Or not?
No, you can have the hearing
The
the night
hearing
of
and then pass it?
passage.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Gavin, one quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
On page 15, which is under Public Works, there are 2 additional line items for the Heritage Center. There's one for maintenance and improvement, and then just another kind of nondescript Heritage Center line item. Can you tell me a little bit about what those encompass?
Repairs, cleaning, repairs, minor
So
repairs.
money that we're putting into it
Yes.
until we officially decide on if we're going to keep maintaining it or whatever we decide to do, right?
Exactly. So
Okay.
if we no longer, if we get rid of the Heritage Center, those costs go
Those items
away.
would go
If
away.
we spend the money to bring it up to code, maybe some of them will go away too, because,
Right, okay,
I mean, we'll still have the electricity and all that,
Yeah.
but
thank you.
yes, there is a cost to ownership of that too.
Any other questions or feedback at this point before we move on? Hearing none, I think we can move on to item 6, which is public comments. Did we receive any emails, Daniel, today with public comments or questions or anything?
We received one.
Okay, 1 second. Look at that.
I'm sorry, I didn't print it.
That's okay.
So this comes from Mel Solario, and it says, I can't help but notice the lack of transparency on the village website. Planning and zoning minutes haven't been posted since April 2023. Police minutes haven't been posted since March of 2021. Public Works minutes haven't been posted since June of 2023. Fire and police minutes haven't been posted since May of 2023. Tree and landscaping minutes have never been posted. Residents should be able to see what's going on from a concerned resident in IHP. And I did respond to the resident and say that that I would read that at tonight's meeting and that we are making it a priority to catch up on those and continue with improving in that area.
Any public comments from anyone here this evening? Hearing none, can we go through trustee reports? Jim?
Planning and zoning did meet on March 5th. A lot of the discussion, as Gavin previously had touched on, was a comprehensive plan that was last updated in 2015. It's quite lengthy, but there is a lot of boilerplate descriptive language in there that hasn't changed, but as our village administrator, Gavin Morgan, has intimated, there are things that are kind of in there without decisions being made on certain areas that will involve public works, that will involve economic development. I thought we had a pretty robust discussion regarding those, the next step, whether we would bring in an outside consultant or do some preliminary legwork and make that decision. I believe some money has been allocated for that in the budget. There is also a commissioner's vacancy that I believe has been posted on the website to fill that one commissioner vacancy on planning and zoning. But I think Gavin covered the gist of it in his budget report.
Danielle?
Thank you. So just a few comments on landscape, and some of this will address the question that the resident referred to. So the end of last year, we did take a couple, a couple months break on having a meeting because, the seasonal changes and timing was just not good to have everyone attend. As we kind of kicked off this year, a majority of the people who were formerly on the commission have been unwilling or unable to attend the meetings. We have had a public post asking for any additional members of the village that would perhaps like to join the commission to help us kind of further the mission of landscape and kind of continue to talk about development, especially as we continue to look at potential options for Wolf Road as we move forward. We have not had any members of the public apply, so I would just once again like to ask if anyone has any interest. We would love to have you join us on the committee. At present, we do not have a committee, so hence why we do not have any minutes, because we have not had any formalized meetings. But certainly we are looking to continue the efforts of that committee and perhaps look at it from a different perspective if we do not find anyone else from the community that's willing to volunteer to help. Thank you.
Trustee Donnersberger.
Well, just to follow up, I think that's a really important committee, and I'd encourage everybody in the village to seriously consider joining that committee, especially as we move forward with Wolf Road. The Economic Development Committee met this month, and we had 2 speakers come in and not only tell us about what they had to offer, but we began to explore ways that we can work with them to bring more services and resources to our businesses. One was the Executive Director of the South Suburban Chamber of Commerce, Kathleen Russell. We're meeting with her again in a couple of weeks. Bob Lipinski, who's the Director of Innovative DuPage, which is a program out of COD, and they offer services to small businesses. They bring resources, education, and other resources to businesses to help them grow. I feel like there's a feedback here. And it's free, so we look forward to sharing that with our business community. We're going to be meeting again Tuesday, and we invite all of our residents to join us.
Thank you. Brenda?
Sure. Just a friendly reminder, the Easter egg hunt is on Saturday, March 30th at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Black Hawk Park. The egg hunt will be by age, and it'll start at 11:15, so make sure you bring your own basket. Plus, there'll be pony rides, petting zoo, pictures with the Easter Bunny, and a scavenger hunt. We did have a police committee this past week and to discuss the goals of the police department. Some of them were the policy and procedures and cameras, but I'll let the chief give a little bit more information on that. I don't want to steal his glory. Thank you.
Trustee Eck?
Thank you. 2 reports. One on the Financial Committee. Our next meeting is April 3rd at 4 o'clock. It is open to the public, and you're welcome to come in. We're looking at primarily 3 items. One is the 2024-25 budget. Second is the pump house financing and the talk about debt certificates. And then the third is we have yet to talk about the vacancy that's going to be created by Helia's retirement mid-May. and she will certainly be missed. The second is in regards to Public Works. Our next committee meeting is at 9 o'clock on April 8th. Again, the public is invited to join. We're looking at a variety of things, but this includes, one is a 5-year plan for streets, sewers, and water. That's in the process of development now. I think Joe's going to talk a little bit more about that, if not today, at a later time. Second is use of our buildings, as Gavin had indicated that there was a feasibility study to look at our 3 main buildings. Village Hall is 1, Public Works is 2nd, and the Heritage Center is 3rd. We had originally scheduled that for this summer, to start the summer. We're looking at them at a building at a time to see what our needs are. And with the staffing changes, that got put back about 6 months, but we're going to be talking about that at the next meetings coming up. And let's see, we had, the third item is also related to the pump house, as well as how that's coming along. So these are items that are on our agenda and that we talk about as they come up. Thank you.
Trustee Saldana.
The Senior and Family Connections Committee will meet on Tuesday at 2 p.m. We're going to be discussing a calendar of events that we're looking forward to partnering with the Lyons Township mental health system and the Aging Connections for congregate meals. We're going to be planning on working a solution that can be just on a regular basis scheduled from now on for a way to have our seniors and families that want to join us for the congregate meals to also get some information that they might need, presentations, etc. And that's it for now.
Thank you. Village Clerk.
Or, thank you.
Village Attorney. Oh, Village Treasurer, sorry.
Nothing to report, thank you.
Village Administrator.
A few things to report. I already covered the comprehensive plan, but in addition, it would look at land use, and it would allow us to update the zoning code as well as the zoning map. And there are a number of items that the Planning and Zoning Commission noted can be corrected in the zoning code and map, particularly, without having to do, they're more common sense fixes, like areas of the community that are not necessarily zoned for what's existing there. And so there's some common sense fixes that we could do before the comprehensive plan. So that was another subject at the Planning and Zoning Commission. But we would also look at some specific areas like the triangle at Wolf and Joliet, the IDOT land also at Wolf and Joliet on the northeast corner. Flag Creek and 70th Place, these were all places, areas that were identified in the 2015 comprehensive plan that just need to be revisited, and again, decisions made about how to deal with those appropriately. But some other plans that we've been in talking with staff about and with the committees about, and Charlie hit on some of these, but a vehicle replacement plan, both for Public Works and police, a technology plan, a 5-year road program, and a 3-year pavement program, among other long-range planning for our assets and how we deal with those and how we schedule the replacement of those. And that has an impact, again, on the budget as well as our operations. Some other specific items I need to report on. We had reached out to our health insurance pool, and we are going to be able to offer a PPO in addition to the HMO that we offer. And it's going to actually, the HMO premium is going to increase by 4.4% over what it had been last year. and the PPO is actually going to be 2.55% less than the new HMO renewal rate. So unusual that a PPO plan would be less than an HMO plan, but it's one of the things that when I first started, we had talked about a need to have that offer for our employees to as a benefit, and we can do it and save money. So I've been reaching out to I reached out to our audit firm, which also has a segregated accounting consulting arm, and they're going to talk to me more about that. And we also have a relationship with GovHR, who does temporary assignments and more long-term, but part-time assignments. So there is an opportunity to continue getting the work done and possibly have some savings, maybe. I don't know. It's part of the full analysis, which I'll work with the Finance Committee on that. And then we do have, speaking of new, we have a assistant to the village administrator will begin on Monday, and his name is Andres Beltran, and he will be coming from the village of Burr Ridge, so he should be able to find his way to Indian Head Park without getting lost. And he will start, and he's really going to be taking the place of Andy, who left shortly after I got here, Andy Farini. So he'll be helping with the building and permit process, and taking on, which is a task that Helia has been taking on, that one of the several that are not in her job description, but that she's willingly taken on. So he'll provide some relief to her, but also to me, and I'm going to put him in charge of making sure that the minutes are up to date, along with Daniel, on all of the committees, or that we have some kind of information about in the event that they aren't up, that it's clear why they aren't up. You know, there is something happening, but it may or may not result in minutes to date, and that we are more transparent in that way. Wanted to let you know that we have put in for the AARP grant to help with funding for the senior programs that Christina mentioned. We are also talking with the Community Mental Health Commission at the Lyons Township about partnering on that program, and Christina mentioned Aging Care Connections as well. So we are actively pursuing a number of grants, and I will provide you with a grant report that we've developed at Charlie's request, and that's something that we'll share with the board and with the public about, just so you all know that we're actively pursuing those funding opportunities. And that's my report. Oh, members of the board, please submit your statement of economic interest to the Cook County Clerk as soon as you can. You should have received an email. If you didn't receive an email, let me know.
Now we're going to move on to department heads. Joe, would you like to go first? Or Matt, whichever. Joe, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, a couple things, building related. We reached out to ComEd incentive program for the buildings, and we had evaluations done at the Public Works building, the Village Hall PD and also the Heritage Center. And the combat incentive program they came up with to replace everything at the Public Works building was $19,132.98 with the incentive program out of pocket to replace for that program to start. We also did one here, and this building didn't have as much of an incentive, but it did have at least half incentive. It was a $7,500 cost, and then with the incentive program, it's $3,500 to replace all the lighting in this building. And as Gavin mentioned, with the Heritage Center kind of being in limbo, we really aren't going to do anything there. There really wasn't that much there to replace, a lot of just basic light bulbs and stuff like that. So Gavin also signed off on redoing this building as well. We did get some pricing to replace the ceiling tile in here and putting social media blasts out to the public to help us out with things, inform the public. We're out there before, during, and after storms to try and keep things moving, but we ask that the public help out with making sure their culverts are clear and everything's open. .5 years.
6 months.
Yep.
That's great, thank you.
Sure.
Chief Walsh?
Again, thank you, Mayor, for your comments about the Slam the Scam. It was very well received. It was a really fantastic presentation by Officer Verber. It was a lot of information in a short amount of time. It's on the website. I recommend that everybody watch it several times because it was a ton of information of what the scams and the sophisticated, if it passes. I don't know how much traction it's going to get, hopefully none, but when Representative Slaughter put it forth, it was then, he decided not to run it, but now it's been reinvented and in the House and the Senate. So I will monitor that as we go. As far as hiring, Stannard and Associates posted for new hires. We haven't posted for laterals yet because we still have an existing list. Letters were sent to those on the lateral list that did not qualify, and Mike Vitale signed them and we sent them out. So I'll keep you posted on when we are able to exhaust the lateral list and post for the laterals as well. Trustee O'Loughlin was talking about the flock cameras. There's a new representative, a new contact that we have to go through now. Dan Murdoch, who was our contact, has been moved to deal with larger agencies, so we got to get in contact with who is going to be his, who's in charge now. So as soon as we find that out, we'll get going with that. Now, they did install at Wolf's Head, but we have to get power to it yet. They put the camera up, but it's not powered, so I have to follow with that. IDOT has started to sign off on permission, so we'll be able to get the cameras over near the expressways there, so that'll help us as well. Walgreens contacted me that the manager there was able to forward it to the right people, so he hopes as soon as I hear more, I'll let you know, but it's going through corporate as we speak. Policies and procedures, Lexipol. Director Rafferty has been working very hard with Lexipol. He has already changed over about 4 or 5 policies. We're working on more. As I stated before, many were outdated, many need to be corrected, especially to conform to the Safety Act. So he's been working with that pretty much most of the day. That's most of his time. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
One additional thing real quick. The on the consent agenda, you authorized Joe and I to enter into a joint participation agreement with the state. And that was specifically for our upcoming salt purchase. And this, tonight, you didn't approve us purchasing salt tonight. You just authorized us to work with the state. We don't have the pricing yet from them, but we are going to be putting in an order. And Joe has looked at what we have in the salt dome right now, what we're going to need next year, and we've budgeted accordingly. So.
Great. If there is no other questions or no other department head reports, I think we're done with our meeting. We do not require a closed session this evening, so I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
I second it.
And a roll call vote? Do we need voice vote? All in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.